back here watching Storyboard. Ahead of Children's Day, we caught up with Nina Elavia Jaipuria, head Hindi Mass Entertainment and Kids TV Network, and Anu Sikka, head Creative Content and Research, Kids TV Network, Viacom18, on creating homegrown IPs in kids genre. To give you some background, more than 2 decades ago, the kids genre in India was shaped by Cartoon Network in the 90s, as it was the first channel to be launched in the genre back in 1995. Since then, the genre has seen many players catering to preschoolers and tweens. While Cartoon Network occupied the majority of the market with its international content for a long time, post that, its sister channel Pogo climbed to the top with its local hero Chhota Bheem. Then came Turner, followed by Nickelodeon, which took over with its local content and a few international shows. Since then, it has focused on launching one homegrown IP each year to maintain its leadership position and expanded its presence further by localizing its content. We spoke to Nina and Anu on this and about creating their most popular IP, Motu Patlu. They recently celebrated their 10th birthday. So how was this comic strip in a kids magazine, Storyboard Comics, recreated for TV, the challenges, advertising interest and much more? Let's hear this conversation. सबसे पहले आप दोनों को 10 साल की ढेरों शुभकामनाएं।
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Nina and Anu, it was so good to have them on the show, right?
Absolutely.
Now I'm really keen on knowing the journey and the whole evolution of these two characters, which was brought to life by you guys 10 years ago. So let's begin the conversation.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Back then in 2012, Nina, let's begin this conversation with you.
Sure.
Did you imagine the kind of raging success that Motu Patlu is today, that something like this would happen?
So honestly, hand on heart, I must say a no. But I think from then to now, it's been a decade of entertainment, entertainment and entertainment.
Yeah.
You know, we literally celebrated Motu Patlu's unshakable love. And then with love comes leadership. That's what happened in the last decade, to be honest. And in one sentence, if I were to tell you what happened, was that they were just simple, homegrown characters and toons, which have today become global icons.
Correct.
And they continue to win hearts across the world.
Yeah.
That's in one line the journey, of course. But if I start back in 2011, when we were discussing, and the environment at that time was that most kids entertainment channels had international content.
Yes.
There was just about absolutely none or very few Indian IPs at that point of time. And so we were discussing, and of course these characters then came to life because they were born in a kids magazine called Storyboard.
Yes.
We gave them life and brought them onto a television screen by partnering with Cosmos Maya.
Yeah.
And then, of course, today they've gone even beyond screens.
Yeah.
They're now into digital, gaming, licensing, consumer products.
Yes.
So whether you're talking about stationery, apparel, homeware,
Yeah.
toys, all of that.
So our task was, we just took these two characters and we made it more contemporary. We gave stories to these characters, or we brought these characters into stories which were more relatable with the kids of today's time. For us, of course, the biggest challenge was we were creating a show with 2 adult protagonists who are going to be entertaining kids. So what we basically then did was give attributes to these characters which children could relate to, and that was friendship. We know how friendship is important to kids.
Yeah.
After the family, it's all about friends. So we made that friendship between these two characters so amazing that it became aspirational, it became relatable with children. So that's where the journey started from. We just took these two characters, actually created some additional characters as well, which were more contemporary, with which children could have fun with or they could relate to.
That's wonderful. And what did it do for Nick in India? What was its impact on the kids genre?
What it actually did for the channel itself is that it brought us to the pole position, and we've been ruling the roost for almost 8 consecutive years at the #1 position, with the franchise being at a 30% market share. So it became, went on to become a game changer for the category of sorts across all the stakeholders. And when I say that, I mean, it was not just about kids, but it was about family, parents, about the co-viewing that the channel got as well. And then, of course, moving on to the animation industry and the much needed impetus it gave there. And last but not the least, the advertisers as well. I mean, we had a fabulous, and we'll talk a little more about that in detail. But having said that, I think it gave us that pole position, which we are still kind of ruling even today. And it also actually traveled overseas. So this is one such, made in India toon property, which is, by the way, the largest toon property in India. But it's also crossed, the geographies now, and kids are and families are watching them in Southeast Asia, in MENA countries, in Sub-Africa, Central America, etc., etc. So winning hearts everywhere.
Yes, and you gave me a nice segue, for my next question, which was on advertisers actually. How has the advertisers' perception of these two characters evolved in the past 10 years? Because look, I go to my sister's place and I see my nephew carrying a Motu Patlu tiffin box to to school, or there is a Motu Patlu statue at the Madame Tussauds museum in Delhi.
Absolutely.
Then the second part to that question, over to you, Anu, is what are the kind of branded content solutions that you guys are developing for advertisers?
Right.
So Nina, let's begin with you.
We have advertisers across a genre of categories, so right from your FMCG, which is oral care, confectionery, food and beverage, snacks, all of that. We have toys. Of late, of course, we have e-commerce, we have consumer durables, we had auto, we had edtech. So a whole lot of categories came on board, not just because we were, delivering target audience, which is kids, but a whole lot of co-viewership with families and the gatekeepers as well. And the fact that we were delivering the brand message in a very innovative, engaging manner. It was not a simple vanilla 20-second spot, but it was about curating and creating engaging content with the advertiser, which was being delivered to the target audience. And what I mean by that was that there were several ways of doing that, and there was promotional licensing where we made brand films along with Motu Patlu. There was, for example, in-show placement. And then, of course, there was licensing deals that we did. So there were a series of solutions and integrations that added value to the advertisers and then took that message to their target audience so differently.
Yeah. Anu?
As a content maker, we have to be slightly, or rather be very careful about what are the kind of products that we are, trying to bring it together with these two characters. One has to be very mindful in the kids category, one has to be mindful of the gatekeeper, which are the parents. So we have to be very careful in terms of what are the kind of brands that we really want to associate ourselves with. Obviously, as I said, this probably is, today we have created close to 11 IPs in 11 years, but this is the IP which is most sought after by most of the brands out there which wants to associate with Nickelodeon. But as I said, as a content creator, we have to be very, very mindful, and we are choosy about it.
Okay.
So,
Nina, you made a very interesting point in the beginning. You said that back then there was a need gap, that there was no homegrown content for kids in the India market. So what is the need of the hour now?
I think that need continues because as you go along, and if I look back into the last decade, we would have noticed that at Nickelodeon and at Viacom18, what we did was we didn't stop with Motu Patlu. And the reason why we think we did that was because we believe that to be at the pole position, you need to have the width and depth of content. Okay, and we realized that there were so many white spaces and genres in the category that have not been tapped by indigenous home tunes. And that is why we've actually come IP after IP after IP in different genres. So we had magic with Rudra, we had action and adventure with Shiva, we had Bhoot Bandhus in the ghost genre, and so many different white spaces that we kind of filled the gap with, and we had 11 IPs over 11 years. And to me, that is going nowhere because there is so much more to do in this category. There are so many more white spaces to tap. See, what happens with these IPs are, they have the Indian sensibilities. So they very quickly capture the hearts and minds of children.
Yeah.
And with kids, it's about a comfort level.
Yeah.
So I love this character and I want to see more of it every day, 3 times a day, 4 times a day. And as you create more and more characters, that happens with a series of characters.
Yes.
Because, there is action in some, there is chase in some, there is comedy in some, there is total fantasy in another, then there is a ghost in another. So, our last 2 IPs have also been extremely successful, like Chiku and Bunty and Bhoot Bandhus.
Yeah, so there is no doubt that homegrown is a large part
And
of
it's
your
here to
strategy,
stay.
and it's here to stay.
Yeah.
How has Anu, the whole pandemic and the digital adoption in the India market over the past 2 years impacted that, or has had an impact on that homegrown content strategy for Nick?
Kids content is pretty much, there is not too much of difference what you create for, let's say, a linear channel or what you create for the digital channel. The basic mood of the content stays the same. And that's why the advantage that kids content have is it's agnostic to, it's screen agnostic. You can play the same kind of content, you'll find viewers of that content everywhere.
Yeah.
Unlike the content which is made for the adults, let's say for a GC, it's going to be very different. Whereas the same content for adults on a digital platform will be very different.
What is the strategy for Motu Patlu, of course, and the other IPs of Nick in the coming months?
There has been a whole journey of Motu Patlu that has happened over the years, and I think we are about to get into a new season where I'm going to let Anu secret out, but we're introducing a new character.
Oh, is it?
Yes, so that's going to be wonderful because we've already told 1,000 stories and we'll tell many more, and that's the evergreen Motu Patlu for you. So by the way, in 2018, Google Trends declared Motu Patlu as the highest searched Indian television show worldwide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
That's how
wonderful.
iconic they really are, and I know that in fact on Children's Day we have a brand new television movie of Motu Patlu premiering.
Ah, that's wonderful.
So lots in store for Motu Patlu, like you
Indeed,
said.
and looking forward to that. Anu, what is the content pipeline in the coming months?
It's the team is pretty busy. We have 2 domestic shows which are in pipeline, but I think the icing of the cake is we have a global show, which is actually a co-production between Nickelodeon India and Nickelodeon International, and this show is being made for the all the Nick channels globally. It's going to get premiered on all the Nick channels globally. It's being written by some of, so it's truly it's a show which is being designed and being executed in India.
Oh, wow.
Totally. The pitch, the concept was developed in-house, by the Nick India and by the Nick UK team. And so yeah, that's going to be a big one, which hopefully will get released sometime in the beginning of next year, at least on Nick India. So yeah, it's a busy season.
Yeah, all the best for these plans. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.